Good evening and welcome to the Berkeley Cultural Trust Candidate Forum. We're grateful that you're here tonight with us. I'm Sharon Dolan and I'm the current chair of the BCT and the executive director of the Freight and Salvage in downtown Berkeley. The BCT is a coalition of over 60 arts organizations in Berkeley, and we come together to advocate on behalf of the arts, to share information, and to work toward a more just community and world through the arts. The city, the Art Commissions, and the Art Commission and arts organizations have worked cooperatively to build Berkeley's thriving art community. And we look forward to hearing from the candidates tonight about how we can work together to keep the arts thriving. Thank you again for being here.
I wanted to thank you all for joining us tonight. I'm Lisa Bullwinkle. I'm the chair of the Civic Arts Commission, and I have produced over 200 cultural festivals in Berkeley. I've been an arts advocate in the city for over 40 years, and I have had the honor and privilege of working with 5 mayors and many, many council members. I've seen the important role they play in supporting this community. Right now, I'd really like to thank the city and the council for what they've done for the arts this past year, which have been in such dire straits. They gave the arts $1 million in emergency grant money during this initial period of COVID and $680,000 in civic arts grants for individuals, organizations, and festivals. While that might seem like a lot of money, it's an important investment in a significant economic driver for the city of Berkeley. In 2017, a study was done and found that Berkeley's arts and culture industry generated $98 million in total economic activity, with almost 6,800 paid positions and 950 full-time jobs. Plus, it delivered $3.7 million in local and state government revenue. The grim reality now is that the financial impact of COVID with our current art organizations is so dire. They've lost $7.5 million in revenue in just 3 months and have laid off 288 full-time employees. We want to be sure that our art organizations not only survive, but thrive. A culturally vibrant Berkeley means an economically prosperous Berkeley. The arts are critical to our local economy, our children's education, our racial equity work, and our mental health. So how we move forward politically is incredibly important. On that note, I would like to introduce Patrick Dooley, the founding artistic director of Shotgun Players, and our talented MC for the evening, who's going to keep all of you in line, hopefully better than Chris Wallace did this week. Little technical thing, let me get him online for you. Let's see. Sorry.
I'm stuck, I can't get on.
I know, here you go. All right, and I will disappear.
Hi, friends. Hi, fellow Berkeleyans. Yes, Lisa, thank you for that introduction. I'm gonna do the best I can. Just for those of y'all who might be able to see, this is the poster for Henry V. This is the show that we were in tech, getting ready to open 4 days away from the first preview when we got shut down. Someday I'm gonna make a little tragic movie, very sad movie about that. Anyway, yes, for those of you who don't know, Lisa, turn off your camera. The Shotgun Players got started about 30 years ago in the basement of the Laval's Pizza Parlor. And in 2004, we moved to the Ashby stage, which is here on the corner of Ashby and Martin Luther King, right across the street from the Ashby Flea Market. And our theater company, along with all the other arts organizations and individual artists here in the city of Berkeley, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the city because of their long-standing tradition of supporting the arts. the arts are, as we all know, they're like a part of the DNA of the city. There aren't many cities in this country that can brag about having as many publishing houses and public art. And I would say we even have more seats in performing arts venues per capita than pretty much any other city in this country. And that might even include New York. You know, the arts are there, and not only are they, the arts are not, as Lisa mentioned, they're not just they're a really important part of our economy. It's so much so that the Berkeley Chamber of Commerce's slogan is "Come for the culture, stay for the food." So I think we can all agree that as we're emerging from this pandemic that we're all in, that the arts and our restaurants are going to be like key to how we're able to like dig ourselves out of this. But the arts are, as we all know, also even more important than the economy, and they benefit us in ways that are often really difficult to count. They inspire, they entertain, they offer opportunities for reflection. They humanize us. They provide relief and joy. I was thinking of the word catharsis. It's a Greek word, as some of you probably know, and it's essentially meant to cleanse and purify the body of the emotions of anxiety and fear. And in ancient Greek times, physicians actually used to prescribe tragedies and comedies to patients who were suffering depression and other ailments. And I would say to all of us, and I think you can all agree, that after a year like 2020, after a year like this that we've all been through, that our whole city is going to be in the need of a really deep catharsis. And I know that I'm not just speaking for myself, but for the thousands of other artists in the city, that we're ready and we're here for you, and we're ready to come back and to help to heal this city. But we're going to need some help on that. And so tonight we have an opportunity to meet some folks who want to step forward and to help lead the city and to create policy, and hopefully to create policy that will help to partner with the arts so that we can work together to take the city out of this 2020 that we're in right now into hopefully a much a healthier and happier next decade. So we're kicking this off. We're kicking off our, so before I do that, I want to just like I want to thank the panelists. I want to thank all the candidates who are here to show up. I want to thank all of you who are out there who are watching and participating in this to be part of this conversation. And that I encourage you not just to be here today, but to keep coming back and to encourage your council members and the mayor and other city officials to continue to do what they can to champion the arts as an integral part of the city, as we have been for decades, and we're going to be there for you in the decades to come. So we're kicking this thing off, and we're kicking this off with the folks who are running for mayor. We're going to start with the mayoral candidates, and here they come. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to provide their vision for the arts. And once they have all spoken, I'm going to do a follow-up question, the same question for all of the candidates, and they'll have 1 minute to respond to that. Hi, everybody. Nice seeing your smiling faces. So to candidates who are there watching, just so you know, I'm going to hold up this yellow piece of paper. That's when you've got 30 seconds. And this red one is when you've got 10 seconds. And then I'll do a gentle, like, okay, that's your time. And I'll be very nice about it. And I'm sure it's all going to go great. I don't expect to have any like of the mudslinging that we had a couple days ago. And I think that's it. We're going to be going in alphabetical order, which means that we'll be starting with our mayor, Jesse Arreguin. Jesse, you can unmute yourself and let it rip.
Well, good evening, and thank you to the Berkeley Cultural Trust for having this forum. And I promise you I won't interrupt. And if I do, you can silence my mic. You have that power. If only Chris Wallace had that power. It's really an honor to serve as mayor of this incredible city. And the arts are really a key part of not only our local economy, but also the soul of our city. And I've really made supporting our arts a key priority of my administration. As was noted, the arts are a critical part of our local economy. We have over 150 arts organizations in Berkeley, bringing in millions of dollars to our local economy. And we know currently that we're facing unprecedented times and our arts organizations are struggling, as is our local economy. And so one of my top priorities, if I am reelected, is to not only get us through this COVID pandemic, but to ensure a just and equitable economic recovery. And key to that is supporting our arts nonprofits, the many individual artists that really are part of the lifeblood of Berkeley. During my time on the Berkeley City Council and as mayor, I've served on the council for 12 years now. I have really been a leader in supporting the arts. Representing downtown Berkeley, I've supported many arts organizations we have in the heart of our city, such as the UC Theater, the Freight and Salvage, and the Berkeley Rep. I helped secure funding for capital grants for CALA and the UC Theater, which were critical for improvements, as well as helping the UC Theater open, which is a really incredible performing arts venue serving the East Bay region. Working with the Arts Commission and many members of the Berkeley Cultural Trust, we advocated for a short-term rental policy to make sure that Airbnb and other short-term rentals are paying taxes, and then work to ensure that some of those taxes went to support the arts. And then we worked to increase the civic arts grants from $300,000 to $500,000, and we have kept that funding over the past 3 years. And if I'm reelected, I'm committed to not just keeping that funding, but looking at how we can increase that funding. And that's really been essential to provide critical funds to keep arts organizations going in Berkeley, and to expand the support that we can provide for individual artists in every corner of the city. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Civic Arts Commission for their incredible leadership. We're so fortunate to have such a great commission made up of experts, and they've been really focused on the issue of equity. And I want to call attention to Kim Ano, my appointee to the Civic Arts Commission, who's really prioritized the issue of equity to make sure that we're spending these dollars in a way that's equitable. We passed an arts plan, which is really a roadmap for the future, and look forward to implementing that. And then lastly, as was noted, the Berkeley Relief Fund. I was proud to launch the Berkeley Relief Fund, which generated $4.4 million, including funding to support our arts nonprofits. So going forward, I want to work to address the impacts of the pandemic, to keep artists in Berkeley, and that means creating affordable housing for artists, to advance arts education in our schools, to ensure equity in the arts, and to increase public art, including murals throughout our city, to recognize and embrace our diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job, Terry. Good job. Next up, we have Wayne Shung.
Everyone, I want to just make 3 points and tell 3 quick stories. The first is that part of what makes Berkeley, and frankly, human civilization great, is the arts. And for those of you who don't know my background, I've been a wonk almost my entire life. My mom was a math teacher. My dad was a scientist. And I went to school studying science and statistics and economics. And a lot of folks probably would be surprised to know I spent a year of my life trying to write a novel. And the reason I did this was back in 2006, 2007, when I was a law and economics professor at Northwestern. I was writing all these papers about climate change, trying to get anyone to pay any attention to this problem. And no one was even reading the papers. We weren't creating any change. And one of the things that I learned from one of the best climate activists I ever met, and someone I'm still inspired by to this day, actually a law professor by the name of Cass Sunstein, is that it's not enough to have good data. It's not good enough to have good reasons. You've got to be able to tell good stories. And the way you get to good stories is through the arts. So this brings me to my second point, that if you look at the challenges Berkeley is facing, homelessness, climate change, affordable housing, a lot of these challenges require us to work together. It requires us to make sacrifices that will be hard. We'll have to give up natural gas heaters. We'll have to find a new way of getting around and give up our cars. And the way you inspire people to sacrifice isn't just by reasons and facts and science, it's through the arts. And I learned this from people like Jim Harrison, one of the founding members of ACT UP. ACT UP was an amazing LGBT group in the 1980s that inspired so many people to come out and fight hard. And at a time it was really hard to be open and gay, at a time where being open and gay could lead you to be killed. I mean, this is a time where the AIDS crisis is raging. And if you came out and said, I'm openly gay, people would openly threatening, and many people were killed. If you remember some of the stories in the 1980s, and frankly, to this day, there's still people being killed just for saying who they are. And when I asked Jim, what was the thing that inspired so many people to come out in the 1980s? He said 100% was the arts. It wasn't just the facts of the AIDS crisis. It wasn't just the logical philosophical arguments about gay rights. It was the fact that they had amazing agitprop. They had amazing music. They had singers. They had poets. They had people like Larry Kramer, right? Larry Kramer was not a scientist. He was not an activist. He was a playwright, first and foremost. And it was people like Larry Kramer who inspired people to fight hard and create the change that led us to the world we are in today. And that brings me to the third point, which is that if we are actually going to cultivate a community that genuinely supports artists and the arts, we've got to do something about this housing crisis, because the cost of living has increased so much over the last few years. And over the last 3 years, we've only approved 22 units of affordable housing. That artists, musicians, teachers, all the folks who are going to give us the inspiration and motivation we need to take on the challenges that we have to take on, they're all going to be leaving this community. So our plan is, let's get affordable housing in the city. Let's get people off the streets. Let's make sure that this is a city that everybody can survive in. If you believe in that, then fight with us. Let's take on the corporate developers. Let's bring the cost of living down. Let's make sure this is a city that everyone, including artists, can thrive in.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Wayne. Next, we have Aiden Hill.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having this. My name is Aiden Hill. I use they, them pronouns. I will do everything to support what both my colleagues and the incumbent have said as an artist. But I haven't only supported the arts. I'm an artist by trade, an actor, dancer, and singer. So I wanted to show you a few pictures, if I could, just of some of my arts throughout history. And so this is when I was the Cat in the Hat in Seussical. This was high school. I also played as Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Story. This is me actually as Jean Valjean in Les Miserables. And this was Flight of the Lawn Chairman. That was my last college high school production. But I've used the arts. Furthermore, this is at Youth Spirit Artworks. I helped them doing poetry readings, and then I helped them with their tiny house project to make sure people could live in Berkeley. And this was actually a pop-up art. This was at UC Berkeley's campus, and a bunch of students were doing an ode to Black lives. And so all of these ships in the backgrounds are our dreams as Black people. And so what I just did, without any question, is go to the center, and I picked up one of the boats that were flooded and kept that for my own memento. And so that's kind of why I'm here. I'm trying to protect the arts as an artist. A large part of my childhood was spent at Disneyland, feeling the magic and wonder of stories that I was raised on. The curiosity of Tomorrowland, the thrill of Space Mountain, and the faith in expressing my heart left an impact where I believed I could reach out for something better for myself and for others. I believed in this California dream, and that's what brought me to Berkeley as an artist. And although I went politically, I always kept the arts close to my heart. As a resident of Telegraph Avenue, which is known for the arts here in Berkeley, I know how important it is for arts to be in our public spaces. I've worked with street muralists and vendors to create hands-on art experiences within our green spaces, notably People's Park, where I've drawn quite a few murals and helped with the artistic design of it recently. Likewise, I consider myself the only mayoral candidate that is an artist. I've promoted arts at UC Theater, Freight and Salvage, Youth Spirit Artworks, and the East Bay Community Media Center, to name a few. Likewise, in 2018, I was endorsed by Edith Boone of Friends of Adeline, and she supported my arts in the city and gave me her endorsement because of that. I believe, fundamentally, the arts are an integral aspect of the human experience. I'll continue to support them as the foundation of Berkeley. I believe it's important to create, rehabilitate, and maintain all public and open spaces for the neighborhood in our city, because that's where the arts are. When people can think creatively, when they can move outside the lines of streets, their artistic possibilities come to fruition. And I hope to speak more about this in our interview today. Thank you.
Wow, I just want to commend everybody on doing such a great job with the time. Good job, y'all. And Jesse, I'm sorry that I called you Terry earlier. I was responding to a chat from Terry who came in earlier, so sorry. And I also went out of order for alphabetical order, so y'all are doing great, so forgive me. Here's the first question, and actually it sort of it taps into something that y'all were all talking about. You know, affordable housing. That's a huge problem in the city, and it's a huge issue, obviously, for arts and culture workers who very few of them are they're barely able to make minimum wage when they are, and there's a real challenge of we're losing artists. They're leaving. They're choosing not to set up their lives to live here in the Bay Area. They're going to other places, and I was wondering if you had any specific solutions to what we can do to provide. I know affordable housing is a huge issue, but is there any specific solutions that you may have to provide affordable housing for artists and culture workers? So Jesse, we'll start with you, and you have a minute just to kind of give some quick reflections you might have on how we can do that. Thank you.
Well, first I have to correct something that was inaccurate that was stated. We didn't approve 22 units of affordable housing with the Measure O bond that the voters of Berkeley approved in 2018, which I wrote and worked hard to pass, and thank you all for your support. We've approved over 400 units of permanently affordable housing throughout the city of Berkeley. In fact, I was at a groundbreaking in North Berkeley, the first affordable housing project in North Berkeley in 30 years. So we are moving ahead and improving affordable housing. We need housing at all income levels. We need to protect existing tenants to make sure they're not displaced, and not only in COVID, but after COVID. And I want to look at how we can, through legislation, through in West Berkeley and other parts of the city, require affordable live workspace for artists as a condition of approval. I think that there are models that we can look at in other parts of the country, not just affordable housing, but affordable live workspace. So people, potters and makers have space to actually to produce as well. So, I've been an advocate for affordable housing my entire time in Berkeley. I have fought to strengthen renter protections. I'm the only candidate who's delivered over $100 million of funding to build low-income housing in Berkeley. That's because I not only care about this issue, I have the relationships to get things done. If you support my leadership, go to jesse.vote. I need your help. I need your donations. I need you to volunteer.
Thank you.
So I can continue to serve this community.
Thank you, Jesse. Aiden.
Yeah, so I believe that affordable housing is a human right, but I'm actually the only candidate here who has put forward a plan to achieve housing for every single income bracket in our city. For example, those who are extremely low income, and I work with homeless artists all the time, so I understand their need. I want to quickly enact and produce and rehabilitate nonprofit community-controlled housing through public financing. These programs will purchase foreclosed, abandoned, and demolished buildings. And I really believe that there has to be fair housing laws against discrimination on race, sex, and family status. Likewise, for low-income housing, I really encourage to provide upgrades to facilities, rental spaces, and homes to become ADA compliant. And I know I don't have that much time, but even for the above median income housing, I'm really encouraging that the artistic and the architectural capabilities of the city, which is created by artists, is preserved. And so I have no intention of destroying any housing. I'm not only focused on affordable housing, but I'm really keen on making sure that artists are able to live in Berkeley. I know for Julia Vinograd, who is a former People's Park activist, she lived at the Berkeley Inn, and that was kind of the home space for artists. And I really do believe in artist collectives, and I have friends in Oakland who are a part of them. And so I have an intimate knowledge, not just budgetarily, and yes, the incumbent's right, they're the only one who has given money to it, but they're also the only one who has held an office able to do that. As a public official, as a mayor, I will make sure that artists have a place to reside in Berkeley, and I would expand the arts. I encourage all neighborhoods in our city to have street muralists, and I really want to make sure that people are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aiden. Thank you very much. Wayne Shung.
So two things. We need to reform our zoning ordinance and make it easier and cheaper to build. And second, we have to tax the rich. These are the two things we need to do. And with respect to our zoning ordinance, I'm an attorney. I looked at our zoning ordinance, and it is a 449-page monstrosity. And the reality is the Bay Area is the hardest place to build and the most expensive place to build in the entire world. And a lot of those costs are being passed on to ordinary tenants, landlords, homeowners, you name it. And a lot of that is being wasted. As much as I like attorneys, I don't think attorneys should be taking 25, 30% of the cost of housing and building. That's outrageous. And we have to streamline our zoning code because frankly, when you have a 449-page zoning ordinance, it's not actually the big developers who suffer that much. Patrick Kennedy, the big billionaire developers, they've got legal teams. They can handle that. It's the grandma who's trying to build an ADU in her backyard. So we got to streamline that. And that's going to be one of my focuses. But the second thing, frankly, and the most important thing structurally for us to do to get more affordable housing and bring rents down is tax the rich. We've got to tax big corporations like San Francisco did with Prop C. We've got to tax the wealthiest families who are not paying much in taxes because capital gains taxes are very low and no one has to pay any taxes in stock until they sell it. If we tax the rich just a tiny bit more, we can fund affordable housing and supportive housing for the homeless to the tune of 10 or even maybe hundreds of millions of dollars.
Great. Thank you so much. And thanks to all three of you for participating in this. I really, really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much for your insight and your thoughts. See ya. See you out on the trail. Okay, folks. The next panel we have is for District 2. And we should have 4 candidates here: Timothy Carter, Cheryl Davila, Alex Sharenko, and Terry Taplin. Timothy Carter, we're starting with you. You have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for inviting me and giving me a chance to speak about the arts. I have to say that I had a whole list of things prepared to say to you guys that have absolutely nothing to do with art. So I want to just tell you a little story. Growing up, I believed I had not one artistic bone in my body. I couldn't draw a stick figure. It wasn't until I had my beautiful kids who exposed me to what art can really do for you, mentally and spiritually. So when they start to come of age, and I started to appreciate what Berkeley schools actually gave them, when they have access to music and they were encouraged to draw, it really opened my mind and opened my heart to what art can do for you as a young person. And it's something I missed out on as a young person, but my kids thrived with it. My daughter is a thriving young artist right now, and all of my kids, they wouldn't be the people they are today without art and music in their life. So I'd have to I'm not probably the only artist, the only non-artist on this panel, sounds like, but I have to say I have a great deal of respect for what it does for the person who can connect with that. And that's something that I would make sure we continue, because until you experience it, until it moves you, until someone brings a painting that moves you, until someone creates a song that brings you and puts chills up your spine, until that happens, you don't know what art can do for you. But luckily, I've been blessed. I've had that experience. So I just want to tell you a story about it. And I would be remiss to say that I would absolutely support continuing the funding and support the funding that our current mayor has set aside for the arts and support in the city. Thank you. You're muted, Patrick.
Chuck, sorry. Thanks. Good job. Thank you. Thank you, Timothy. Next we have Councilmember Cheryl Davila.
Thank you, and thank you for having us here this evening. This has been beautiful. I've really, really enjoyed the video in the beginning and the choices of music, my favorites, actually. So that was amazing. And I am an artist. I'm a dancer. You know, when I moved to Berkeley in '81, so I've been here 39 years, I used to smoke cigarettes, and then I quit smoking. And so my friend said, well, why don't you take a dance class? So I started taking dance, and I moved from beginning to advanced very quickly because I was super dedicated, taking 7 dance classes a week from some of the most amazing, amazing teachers. Luna, Pat Reedy was one of my teachers back in the day. And I started out at Everybody's Creative Arts Center, which then became the Alice Arts Center, and now the Malanga Cascolord Center. And they were all my teachers. Malanga was one of my teachers. Pat, my teachers are actually on a mural under the overpass at 580, linking arms, Linda Goodrich, Leon Jackson, and Deborah Floyd. So I learned from the best, and I'm just so grateful for that part of my life because it really did change me. Music, dance, arts really has the ability to uplift and make you happy in the movement, happy in your life in general. So it's so important to me. You know, I've been in the district for 39 years and I've been on the council since 2016. And I am so happy that I am. And I just, part of being in Berkeley is going to festivals. So unfortunately, I couldn't afford to go to the theater, but anything that was free outside in Berkeley, San Francisco, we were there. So arts is totally 100% part of my life. Last night, my husband and I were just in the living room and he's like, let's dance. We're listening to K-Poo and we just got down and boogied, because it's so important. It relaxes you. It just makes you, just uplifts you. And so that's what we need to maintain in Berkeley. Have murals. Art work is part of my campaign, actually, some chalk art. And I'm, been working with Rosa Parks to get Rosa Parks on her school. And when I talked to the superintendent, he's like, yes, Malcolm X too. So, beautification without gentrification and displacement is part of my plan, and art is definitely part of that. So I love art, and it's just a blessing to have it and be part of everyone's life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you. I'm going to just leave it off of mute. Just be quiet. Alex Sharenko, you're up.
Thank you. So thanks so much for having me and hosting this forum. So my name is Alex Sharenko, and I'm a solar energy scientist. I've dedicated my entire professional career to making new solar energy technologies to build a truly environmentally sustainable society. And up to about 4 years ago, I thought that would be the cause of my life. But in 2016, after the person that was elected president represents the worst of this country, and I decided that wasn't enough. And so I made the decision to dedicate whatever free time and energy I could to serving the community right here in Berkeley. And so I've since served as a volunteer, as a city commissioner, helping our communities vulnerable and advocating for social, racial, and environmental justice. And I'm now committed to serving West Berkeley and leading us into an uncertain future. But one thing is certain about the future, and that's the importance of arts to our city. One of the things that makes Berkeley special is its commitment to the arts, as we've heard about tonight. From our downtown arts district and the downtown area to West Berkeley artisan shops, to you, the creatives that breathe life into our city. So I think in difficult times like now, I would argue that art is more important than ever because art connects us and allows us to see different perspectives. To see beyond ourselves, and is therefore an incredibly essential part of building the empathy that the world so desperately needs right now. It allows us to create a vision of ourselves, to see our values, and to reflect on who we are and what we want the world around us to be. And perhaps most importantly, art is a tool to weave together the diverse ideas and populations that are drawn to our amazing city. And so I think art is an essential part of all of our lives, which is why I'm committed to making sure Berkeley continues to support the arts. This means continue making sure that new housing in Berkeley provides funds for the arts. This means crafting a new West Berkeley plan centered on artisans, makers, and creatives so that artists can continue to build a home in our city. This means we need creative ideas like replacing empty storefronts on University and San Pablo with subsidized live-work units for artists, so that we bring culture to our streetscapes and we provide places for artisans to live and work. So I love living in West Berkeley. Reasons I love it is because I'm able to walk to institutions like the Berkeley Sawtooth Building, and enjoy the open studios and seek inspiration from the people working and creating there. And I'm committed to making sure that future generations of Berkeley residents can enjoy similar experiences, as Berkeley remains a place where the arts can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Terry Taplin.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Toplin. I am the Vice Chair of Berkeley's Transportation Commission and Community Organizer, born and raised in Southwest Berkeley. I'm also an artist. I'm a poet, spoken word artist, and editor. The arts have been not only the center of my life, but have been the gateway to civic advocacy. I began playing music at Jefferson Elementary School. I played piano, drum, and trumpet, and I began writing poetry at King Middle School with Judith Lee Stronach. During middle school, I was bullied for being gay, and having the chance to articulate my own experience through creative writing was a huge turning point for me. And throughout my adolescence and young adulthood, I spent 10 years participating in and coaching slam teams. I hold national slam titles at the youth, collegiate, and adult level. The Sorry Plow was my home venue for a very long time. I also served as a civic arts commissioner on the grants committee, working with Kim Ono and folks like Lisa Bullwinkle to increase arts grants funding, advance the art and culture plan updates, centering the artistry and cultural work of women, POC, queer folks, and working class folks and disabled folks. Unfortunately, I had to step back from the commission to complete my graduate program. But during my graduate program, which was the MFA in Creative Writing at St. Mary's College, I began to think about the poet in the city. Patrick, you mentioned catharsis earlier. While at St. Mary's undergrad, I studied ancient Greek and Latin, and I studied Plato. And I really wanted to challenge the idea that poets should be driven from the city. I also wanted to challenge Auden's idea that poetry makes nothing happen, because I think that policy is a kind of poetry that is lived and experienced in our daily realities. And as we all know, the arts and artists are very vulnerable. People are being displaced. We've lost fancy studios. Prior to the shelter in place, I was working with folks on the artist affordability space, or artist affordable space study. And COVID-19 has really shown us not only the flaws in our society, but who might be hit hardest. It is critical that we don't lose venues or performance venues, whether music or theater. And to address these, it's very important that we look at our zoning, especially in West Berkeley, where we have a really eclectic mix of media arts and biolabs and other uses. You know, we don't want office use to drive out all the media folks. So some of the ideas I have: declaring West Berkeley a media arts cultural district, looking at live work commercial ground floor for artists and venues, etc.
Wow, that's great. Thanks, all of you. There's some great stuff that y'all came up with here. That was a real rich, y'all are a real rich panel. I have a question that came from someone. Okay, here we go. Arts organizations around the country, as you probably all know, and I believe you've even commented on, are in a dire financial strait due to the impact of COVID. Just about every theater in the country is completely shut down. And the lower wage employees of these organizations have also been affected by layoffs. What are your plans or thoughts to address the continuing financial needs of Berkeley arts organizations and those individuals who are no longer employed due to COVID? And we'll continue, go back to the beginning in alphabetical order. Timothy Carter, you have 90 seconds.
So addressing the needs of the laid off artists, they will tie straight into addressing the same needs as small business people, as our service workers. I mean, COVID has disrupted our lives, our income in ways no one could imagine. So if a system or if a virus could disrupt our system, the manner in which COVID-19 has, it's going to take a lot of people with a lot of options and a lot of time to try and figure out how to fix this. There is no easy fix. There is no let's do this and everybody gets a check, or let's do this and everything will be open again. We need to do this in a manner that is safe for our community and it's going to support all the businesses so they can grow. Do I have an answer? I do not. But I do have a plan to get the people in the room together to create a plan for action so we can help these people, not just the artists, but everyone in need. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Davila.
Thank you. So yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot. And when I first came into office, the students from UC Berkeley came to my office and they wanted to put an outdoor theater in the park around the corner from me. And I was like, this is a fantastic idea. It was actually a classroom, but it's a stage that had seating that tucked in and a whiteboard and a blackboard and space for the theater. So that is my hope. Now that we have COVID, it could become a reality because we have more reason to do this now. So that's what I would like to try to get so that we can move food outside. Let's move theater outside to these spaces, you know, and open it up more so, and give artists and actors and all of them an opportunity to do it outside. And also, you know, since food is outside, can we have more little just theaters going on in these outdoor spaces with food, you know, and be able to do that. But they're also writers. They do all kinds of different skills, you know, so we have to incorporate them into maybe city positions that could, or other type of jobs that they're not used to having, but that their minds and their creativity would help other businesses blossom. So that's my plan, and I'd like to explore that a lot more. And I've also been endorsed by the WeBack and many, many more. Go to www.cheryldavila.vote, contribute, endorse, volunteer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Alex Sharenko.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people are struggling and suffering right now because they can't work, and that's kind of a problem we're all trying to deal with. And unfortunately, right now we're not getting the help from the federal government we need, and that's no excuse to do nothing. Every level of government has to step up, get creative, and help people support themselves, help people do the work they want to be doing, and that includes us as city council people. And so, you know, moving everything outside that can be outside is important. Fundamentally, this is a public health challenge. We need to be using our public health resources to keep COVID under control, to making sure people feel safe and are safe, so that they can participate in, you know, commerce and the arts. They can be out in their community. I've seen theater companies moving towards Zoom performances. You know, that we all have to try new things. This is something I would love to have host a Zoom theater night with your council member and use the bully pulpit of a city council person to let people know that this is happening, and let's support our arts. Let's watch and participate in this together communally. So I think we have to be creative with the resources we have, and fundamentally understand that this is a public health threat, and we have to treat it as that. And if we can do that, if we can wrap our minds around the public health aspect of this, then we can really get people back to work, and we can really create the environment where people feel safe to participate openly in the arts again. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Terry?
Yeah, a lot of artists are also teaching artists. So I think one thing we can do is partner with the school district and partner with our other community allies to fund teaching artists in the schools. Also, teaching artists can be made available to folks who aren't currently in schools, but inviting the public to take classes. Um, most of like all the readings I've done this year have been on Zoom. So I support the city sponsoring poetry readings or moving festivals online and doing donation drives. Seeking state and federal grants. I know that will be difficult, but that's something that we should be doing to support our artists. Um, those are some, yeah, I think that Prop 15 will be really important here as well, getting that passed. These are some of the ideas I have, and I invite other ideas. I've also been endorsed by Susan Felix, the art ambassador. Check out my website, terrytoppin.com, but also check out my poetry and my videos.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I haven't had anybody like try to get folks to check out their art yet, so that's good for you. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for participating in this. Thank you so much for showing up tonight, bringing your own creativity to these answers. We really appreciate it. There's some great suggestions there. All right, see y'all out. See you on the trail.
Thank you. Have a blessed day.
Yep. All right. Next up, we're doing great, folks. We're right on schedule. We're up to panel 3, which is District 6, and we have Richard Ilgen and Susan Wengraf. You have 3 minutes. We're beginning with Richard Ilgen.
One of the reasons why I'm running, and as part of my platform, is to deal with the issues around the struggling small businesses and artists, both that were already struggling before COVID, now we're struggling more during COVID, and will struggle after COVID. And I think it's really critical to address those issues in a comprehensive way. Artists are not only the heart and soul of Berkeley, but they're part of the economic backbone of Berkeley, providing jobs, providing revenue, and I think it's important that they continue in a big way to be part of this community. And I married my wife 10 years ago. She came up from Los Angeles area, and she told me that she always wanted to come to Berkeley because of the culture of Berkeley, the artists in Berkeley, the performances in Berkeley, so on. I sometimes wonder if she married me to come up to Berkeley or married me for me times. So, but we participate in a lot of the arts. We participate in a lot of the venues. We buy from local artists, Curtis Arima, Joan Fenton Bomren, and others. We bought from, and because I am not an artist, I can't even pretend to be an artist. And I wish I were that talented. I would probably be better off than having become an attorney and now potentially a city council member. But I also have different connections to artists. I was on the planning commission. And while I was on the planning commission, I was one of those who put forward commercial rent control to save small businesses around. I've also spent 20 years as a deputy city attorney in Oakland. And one of the things I'm most proud of is I was lead attorney for the renovation of the historic Fox Theater in Oakland. And that renovation included not just for the space for the theater, which became one of the biggest venues in the Bay Area, but also space for the Oakland School for the Arts. And for me, that was kind of a labor of love, because I'm from Oakland, I used to go to the Fox Theater to see movies as a kid. So it was great to be able to see it come alive again. I was also, on the flip side of this, I was also attorney on the scene at the tragic ghost ship fire. And I was out there for 3 days during that, aftermath of that. But also after that, I worked with artists and others living in warehouses and live workspaces to make them safer, to make them places where people can stay. I also worked when cannabis came to Oakland in a big way. Cannabis people were buying up places and forcing small businesses and artists out when that happened. And more recently, I was involved in drafting Berkeley's COVID emergency legislation to limit rents and evictions on small businesses. I think there's a lot we can do to support artists in the short-term financial assistance, and not just affordable housing, but affordable places for them to live and to work also. And I think we can have them buy those places and turn them into cooperatives, like they do with the 45th Street Artist Cooperative and the Minnesota Street Project in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sue?
Thank you. Thank you for doing this tonight. Well, before I got seduced into local politics, I was a filmmaker. And I actually made a film about folk singer-songwriter Malvina Reynolds, who you see on many local Berkeley murals. She's the very handsome woman with the white hair and the guitar. And the opening sequence to that film was actually shot at the original Freight off of San Pablo Avenue. So I'm very deep into the arts. I love the arts. But I want to say that it's not only about the dollars that the arts bring to the city. It's also about the value that arts and entertainment bring to the nourishment of our souls. And all aspects of the arts, our visual arts, our music, our theater, our festivals, they're all part of what makes Berkeley such a joyful and interesting place for us all to live. And the absence of the access to culture has been one of the most difficult things for me during this pandemic. So I want to align myself with the comments of Jesse Arreguín, our mayor, because I was right there by his side, passing all of the legislation that we passed to support the arts. And I was also on the Planning Commission when we created the Arts District, which I'm very proud of, and I think is a wonderful model for other cities. But I'm most concerned now with the immediate recovery, and I want to talk about that. I want to address that. The performing arts are going to be the last arts to come back. I mean, I think that's clear now, and we need to figure out a way to make that happen as quickly as possible. And I think one thing is that our health officer, who determines what happens when, may not be that attuned to the needs of the arts community. I think she's right now very focused on the schools, and we've focused previously on the needs of the homeless. This is all extremely important, but I think it's time to start educating our health officer about what the needs of the performing arts community are and how we can accomplish that as quickly and as safely as possible. The other thing is that, you know, we all know this, the city is strapped for finances, and it's a challenge, but I think we all want to do the right thing. But I think we need to build relationships with our federal representatives, with Barbara Lee, with Nancy Pelosi, and I also think that we need to work with our local representatives, Buffy Wicks and Nancy Skinner, and see if we can get help from the state and from the feds. I would love to see in November some kind of a WPA type program employing artists, putting them back to work for the kinds of things that we want to see happen in Berkeley. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. This is a great answers, y'all. Here's a question I have, and this is sort of alludes to some things you were talking about, as far as, like, we all know that the city is strapped, and we know that there are a lot of mouths to feed, and I know I have to tell y'all this. You both know it very much. You know, we've seen other cities across the country that have implemented taxes, small taxes, just even like the sin taxes or like the hotel taxes, to try to generate money for the arts, because there's associations there. And I'm wondering if you feel like there's any momentum in the city around that, and if you feel like that would be, if there's any possibilities of implementing small taxes that could go directly to support the arts, perhaps with things that could be have complementary needs. Anyway, I'll just kind of give you a minute and a half to respond to that, and we'll start with you, Richard.
Well, I think Berkeley is beginning to get negative reactions to taxes, but I think this is the kind of tax that they might be willing to go for. And I think there are subtle ways of creating it, such as, you say, like adding it to a hotel tax, adding it to some kind of commercial rent tax. Like they did this tax for housing that went along with the transfer tax, increased transfer taxes to develop more housing. And I think there's some other things that we can probably do along those lines too, to make little here and there, to piece it together, to provide additional taxes. One of the things I want to say is that, you know, the people who are out of work are really, it's the artists and a lot of folks, service workers and so on, who are really, really suffering because of this. And I think we need to really protect them from rent increases, protect them from eviction, and do other things to prevent further displacement. Because even with landlords and so on, they are, all legislation that's passed has still allowed the landlords to collect the rent later, unlike everybody else who's just lost the income totally. So I think we need to work with that. By the way, just to let you know, I'm endorsed by WeBack for this race, in part because I want to see us not upzone West Berkeley, and to protect and do other things to protect artists and the small businesses in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Susan?
I think it's a difficult time to talk about even more taxes, frankly. We have a couple of tax measures on the ballot here now in November, and we all struggled with whether or not we were going to move forward with them because we know so many people are hurting. We do have the tax on new construction that goes to the arts. I think we could maybe expand that, although I don't want to burden new housing with those kinds of fees. We don't have that many hotels in Berkeley. The hotel that's under construction right now is struggling really hard to get finished. But I would like to work with the arts community to figure out some way, short of, you know, state help and federal help, to get revenues into the arts. I'm totally committed to working with the arts community to do that. In terms of housing, I just want to say we have two terrific opportunities to build affordable live-work on the BART stations. And I have pushed to include live-work live-work studios in the BART projects. This is something that I will be pushing for in the future. In addition, oh, okay, I'll stop. I have a lot of other ideas.
That's great. Well, like, you know, we'll email them in. Yeah, I really appreciate both of you for your candor and your wisdom and your insight, your thoughts on this. That was really a thoughtful exchange. Susan, just as a sidebar, I just wanted to let you know that I actually saw that documentary, Malvina Reynolds, about 2 weeks ago, because one of our artists is actually doing a show inspired by her life and works. So
Oh, really?
I'll get posted on that. But anyway, offline about that. Anyway, it's funny to see your name. All right, Richard, great to meet you. Susan, thanks.
Great to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Take care.
Okay, take care.
Yep. All right, now we're shifting to panel 3. We're still on track, folks. We're going into District 3, which is the district that is the home of the Ashby stage. And we have Ben Bartlett and Deborah Matthews here, going in alphabetical order. Ben Bartlett, you've got 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I love how this accent just comes and goes. Boy, you better go back to class.
That's my Virginia, man. That's my Virginia.
Virginia. Well, hello, everyone in Berkeley Cultural Trust. Now, you know, I want to thank you for inviting us here, and thank you for all you do for the city. Your contributions really are immeasurable. You know, 4 years ago, we had a good time together. We met up here in real space. No, baby, don't touch it. No. Sorry. And, you know, and we talked about, you know, my conception of the arts. And I shared my personal history with the Black Panther Passion plays at People's Park my parents took me to and I was in, you know. And so I get it. I really do. You know, a lot has changed since then as well. Become a father, as you just heard. And so as such, I think a lot about the future now. You know, what am I leaving my daughter here, right? Or I'd like to say the next Josephine Baker, what am I leaving Josephine? Is it environmental collapse, poverty, moral decay? You know, these all wait here unless we make a creative change. And I say creative change because art and change are inseparable. One necessitates and causes the other. And here's an example from these last 4 years. Most recently, we held a march to bury racism. Started here in our district, and we took a coffin and a New Orleans style marching band. And thousands of us marched with the band and the coffin over to the city, to the park, City Hall, where we read the names of the dead. And we put the names of those victims of racism in a coffin. And then we closed the coffin and we threw dirt on it. And we planted a tree on it. And that was art. And that art, by the way, inspired the George Floyd Act and the consensus in this community for police reform. All those raft of bills came out from the council the following week. That's because that art catalyzed our community to make change. So that's an example. So going forward, you know, I've been a partner with you guys from the beginning, a trusted partner in the arts community, helped drive the Airbnb taxes towards the arts, helped pass 1% for arts, got the Black Rep involved with the Berkeley Cultural Trust, funded artist housing at Berkeley Rep, funding the Juneteenth Arts Festival. Is that 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming down to it. Save the Brazilian Dance Center, and so on and so forth. Listen, here's the deal. You can trust me to care for the arts, to continue to care for the arts, because I am one of you.
Great. Thank you so much, Ben. Hi, Deborah. You're up.
Thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here. I have a comprehensive vision for Berkeley that embraces our history and then embraces our future. I often reflect on the joys that we experience here with the rich art here in Berkeley. And I too come from a very strong artistic background. I have spent 20 years of my life working in the field of the arts. I had the honor of working with novelist Alice Walker for 25 years, creating a documentary film, Warrior Marks, focusing on female genital mutilation. I've also worked with Gloria Steinem as we trekked through the state of Ohio, documenting the wonderful, amazing Indian mounds of our home state. I have worked with, as Susie Medic is on this call, I've worked with the Berkeley Repertory Theater alongside she and Marcus Gardley on the project, The House That Will Not Stand, dealing with the equity that we need to address here in the theater performing arts here in our city. It was a huge success. So working in the arts is really important to me. It's a place where my passion lies, and I will totally support anything and all that we can do for the arts. I think that it is important that we look at organizations of all types are increasingly forming partnerships, including with organizations outside of their field, to help to continue the mission and the need of the arts coming out of COVID-19. Many are working with agencies primarily that are not devoted to the arts: education, health, religion, youth, recreational, community, to accomplish both artistic and community goals simultaneously. And I think that's how we have to start to think about things more as we come out of these issues, how we can have stronger collaboration and reach our goals together. So success depends on each partner, their willingness and their ability to live up to their part of that obligation. So I support what we need to do. I am here to be a representative on that behalf. I want to thank you, Patrick, for joining me on a community Zoom to talk about the needs for our immediate community and the arts. That forum went well. A lot of people learned about what you were doing online through your organization. It was just incredible. So thank you so much.
Right on. Okay, great. Thanks, y'all. So I want to ask you a question that's got will a little closer to home here. So whichever one of y'all gets elected will be representing the Ashby Bart parking lot. And we know there've been plans afoot for a long time for there to be some sort of development across the street there. And I'd love to hear your thoughts where you are as far as like the possibility of getting more affordable housing and whatever development happens there. And if there's a way for that you would be able to, say now that you'd be advocating for more affordable housing, and if there's a way to advocate for art space to happen in that development. And we'll start with Ben.
Thank you. And so I'm going to give a very politician-y answer because we're voting on this contentious thing. But yes, absolutely. We've been talking about a public theater for a long time. I've been working with this arts community to really nail one down. So definitely artist housing and a public theater for sure. Well, I can't say for sure, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you'll be advocating for that.
Yes.
Great. And maybe this is the question is just too easy, Deborah, but I'm just going to ask you too. You know, what are your thoughts on the Ashby Bart Park development?
Are you asking me or Ben?
Yes, you. Ben answered.
Okay, all right. His answer is completed. Okay, yes. I'm happy to answer that question. I have been a co-founder of South Berkeley Now, the lead community organization to push for the housing at the Ashby Bart. I have spearheaded the receiving the signatures of more than 1,200 of our South Berkeley residents supporting this housing project. What does concern me is that my opponent, just last night, we attended the subcommittee meeting of the Planning Commission, where his representative only supports 100% affordable housing with no middle income housing, and not addressing artist housing. I would push for that. I support making sure that we have low income and middle income housing to take care of our service workers and to take care of our artists. So it's been a push for me for 2 years. We brought it to our city. We have an MOU that they are currently working with. I'm happy to have represented that with BART and with the city of Berkeley. And I look forward to us getting housing built at that site. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much to both of y'all. See you in the neighborhood. All right. Take care. Okay. And our final panel, panel 5, is District 5. And there we have Todd, Andrew, and Sophie Hahn. I don't believe that Paul is with us tonight unless somebody knows otherwise. Hi, Sophie. Nice view. And Todd, Andrew, are you in the house?
It doesn't look like Todd has joined us here.
Great. All right, Sophie, you've got the mic.
Full reign here.
You got the mic.
I think Sophie signed out.
She did. She crashed out. I'm gonna give her a minute to come back in because she was there for so long, and she's the last speaker that we have tonight. And so I want to just give her a second. I want to thank all of you participants out there for hanging with us.
Vote, vote.
Make sure you vote. Yeah. The Shotgun Players are doing a world premiere of a Josh Kornbluth piece. That's going to be opening in a couple weeks. So you can go to our website, shotgunplayers.org, to find out about that. He's going to be doing it from his home. And, it's a world premiere show by Josh Kornbluth live from his home. And what else can I tell you? We've got some other exciting Zoom projects coming up that you can find out about on our website. I'm just going to shamelessly talk about what's going on at Shotgun. I'll tell you one thing, other folks, and y'all, and some of the theater companies are probably doing this as well. Just so you know, once the vaccine is available and we're all able to come back, we're going to continue to live stream the work that we're doing here for folks who are not going to be quite comfortable to come back even with the vaccine. Just so you know. Okay, mention Berkeley #Unbound.
Berkeley Unbound is a great event that the Bay Area Book Festival is putting on with multiple speakers, including Kamal Bell, Stephen Kerr, Alice Waters, a lot of arts organizations. So it's a 2-day event. It's free. And that was from Sherilyn Parsons.
That's awesome. And hey, and Ceciliana Johnston kindly put the link to the Josh Kornbluth show in there. So folks, check it out. It's going to be great.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're on your cell phone.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
The #2020. #2020. Here we are. All right, Kate, you're gonna give us 3 minutes for Sophie. Is that what's happening?
Yes, thank you very much. And I'm sorry for the inconvenience. My computer died and I don't know why I can't get on the video here on my phone, but I will make a few comments on Sophie's behalf.
Thank you.
Sophie is a firm advocate and supporter of the arts. Her family is of the arts. Her mother was an opera singer. Her sister is an art curator in New York. Her entire life has been embedded in the arts community here in Berkeley. Most importantly, as a colleague, I see the work that she does, both at did at ZAB and does at the council, to support new planning structures that will allow artists to thrive. Every time there's an opportunity to think about the arts and how we can use our planning to make it more possible for the arts to thrive here, Sophie is there. We have seen this throughout the entire history of her work in Berkeley. She is also herself embedded in the arts community, did a lot of work, as you know, on the North Berkeley Library and improving that facility. She has a keen aesthetic sense, which I always appreciate. One of the things that she is always looking for is how to make things more delightful, not just more functional. She's interested in the way that we move and live in cities, not just making sure that we have buildings for people to live in, but places that we can all thrive. It is a real delight to work with her on these issues and to see this continual focus on aesthetics and the arts in everything that she does. So to her, the arts are not a side light, they are the point. And I really appreciate that focus that she brings to our city and to all of our planning processes. I hope you'll all support her in this election and give her an opportunity to continue in the important work that she has been doing. Thank you.
Great. And I'm going to give you, we've got one question for her.
Okay.
Since we've got two council members here, essentially. So I'm going to go for I'm going to swing for the fences here.
Okay.
I don't know if you were here earlier when we thanked the city for the money that they were able, the emergency funds they were able to set aside to send to the arts organizations to kind of, you know, just to give us some support, but also just to let us know that the city had our back. And I'm wondering, as we are, I know that the funds are tight, and I know that this is a stressful situation for all of us all around, but I wonder if the city is contemplating, you know, another infusion of funds at some point later on after post-vaccine to kind of help a lot of these arts organizations sort of reboot and get themselves back, you know, back out there.
In fact, we're considering that now. We're getting more funding from the CARES Act, and Sophie's been a keen advocate of bringing the business community together through our business networks. She held a series of forums at each business district to find out what their needs were, and that obviously included the artists that are in those districts. She helped formulate the reopening plan for the city, looking at outdoor commerce, for example, restaurants, and has supported more outdoor openings and art events. We also need to support artists working on their own stages, perhaps without audiences before the vaccine, but allowing them to tape and make performances and to do their work like any factory worker would be allowed when they go to the office. And I feel that this has been a real focus of hers, is to bring these businesses and arts organizations together in each business district. I participated in 2 of those with her, with the business districts relevant to me. And she led those sessions. She brought the staff, made sure that those conversations were thorough and helpful to the different organizations involved, particularly the arts.
Great. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. Thank you for that. So I've got here that I have closing. I don't know, Lisa, if you wanted to come back on. I have just a very brief thing that I'd like to say. I don't know if you're going to join us to say goodbye.
I'm hiding. I was hiding, but here I am.
Thanks. Welcome back, Lisa. So here's what I want to say to all the panelists who are still listening. And, you know, number one, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being part of this. And here's what I'd like to say to you as people who are here because you care about the arts, is that we're looking at this like we're, you know, as theater, as arts makers, that we're in sort of like a long distance relationship. And right now we're away from you, but we are still there. And we're still trying to maintain a relationship with you. And so for the arts organizations that you care about, go to their websites, you know, and send them an email and let them know how much you care about them. Let them know that you're thinking about them. If you have an extra, you know, if your job has not been impacted by this and you can afford to send them an extra $25 or $250, or if you get another stimulus check, you can forward that on to those arts organizations. Now is the time to let them know that. And like that money is going to be important to kind of help them jumpstart and get themselves back. but it also just gives them that vote of confidence that their city cares about them. You know, even the $5, $10, $20 checks, that we know that like y'all have our back, that you care about this, because, you know, when this is over, you know, we're going to be, you know, our pantries are going to be empty. You know, I mean, theater companies have not been able to sell tickets will not have been able to sell a ticket for a year, you know, and Zoom is great, but it's not the same thing. We all know that, you know? And so just want to put that out there. Showing up at this is great. Telling us you love us is great, but like anything you can do just to stay in touch with us and let us know that you care about us and that we're important to you is really important for us. So I just want, that's my once more unto the breach, dear friends, speech to my Henry V, to all of you that are out there.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick, for being much better than Chris Wallace the other night. There worked out really great. And I just think we learned a lot from people about the arts and our thriving life here that's so rich and beautiful. And I want to see it survive. And we know we've got at least another year before any of this is going to come back to even an inkling of normal. So help us survive that year. We don't want everybody to disappear and go away and move to Nevada. This is a rich place. We want us everybody stay here and make us happy.
Yeah.
So thank you all.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Let's go.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you,
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
really good to see you all.
Yeah, likewise. Good seeing y'all too.
Stay well, be happy, stay healthy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.